Yeah, man. Hold on for a minute. Let me get right for a minute, man. Checking my Facebook
Purchase
page
your tracks today.
and my Instagram page and my Snapchat page. We'll get it back.
See you flossing on Instagram, stay posting on Facebook.
It's the I See What You're Doing podcast. I'm Mr. I See What You're Doing, and as always, I see what you're doing.
Yes, sir. And as always, I see what you're doing. Am I here? Here we go. Bro, what up? You already know who it is, man. It's Mr. I See What You're Doing, and as always, I see what you're doing. We back. Missed you. I would not want to be anywhere but here. As always, man, I try to bring you the most up-to-date information. What can I say? I've been getting harassed lately with the methods that I'm using to bring you this information. Some of my systems have went into, I would say, hyperdrive or something like that. Let's just say it's not all coming out like it's supposed to come out, if you will. And I can't say whether that's because of, I can't say what it's because of. Like, all I know is that I've been having some difficulties getting the information to bring you quality content. But nonetheless, we must keep going. I hope that the information that I bring to you today is going to be pertinent information. I can't say that it's irrelevant, but I mean, some people may find out that it's not as relevant to them. Nothing in this particular episode is meant to spook you or scare you. The first one that I give you is definitely going to be a cause for concern. So we know that the government shutdown has went on. We know that a deal was signed so that we could get back to our government being open, and everybody would probably take a relaxed, have a relaxed and a sense of relief because of the government being back open. But then comes the bad news, and this is the stuff that they don't put in the news. Trust me, I went to see. I went and checked it out. I was wondering whether or not it was true or not. So the government shutdown that they put up was a Band-Aid. When they reopened it, it was a Band-Aid. It wasn't a fix. It was a bandage. It was something that they were doing at that time because they had to. Because a lot of people were complaining about it, if you will. But we're still in gridlock with that, is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to get you to a point to understand that we in the government. The government could still be shut down on January the 1st. It's not like we came over with a package that was going to take us into this time next year or a couple of years out from now. It wasn't that. It was just, like I told you before, to get the government back open so that we can have a good Thanksgiving and a good Christmas and a great New Year's, because those are money-making holidays. A lot of agencies are still in the protocol of getting ready, just in case they have to go back into the government shutdowns and the furloughs and the delayed pays and the delayed pay. And it also takes you and puts you in a situation where some of the services that you have now could be at risk. We know that 8 of the, I think it was 8 Democrats crossed the line to be able to allow for the government to be open under the premise that there would be concessions in a deal made after the government reopened. That's still yet to be seen, but I mean, That's what the deal was. And now we're looking at where it could still go back to what it was in September, October. SNAP being cut off, families being furloughed, families not being able to plan their lives properly and plan for the future. It leaves families and workers in the government caught in the middle of political standoffs. You know, you just caught in the middle until what we call the 1%ers or the elites. It leaves you stuck in the middle of them, having a measuring contest, if you will. You get what I'm saying? Oh man. So, yeah, man, we just sitting here waiting to see what the outcome is going to be. We definitely need to get this shit together, but there's no promise that what happened when they opened the government back up is the way that they fixed it. You know, why does that matter to the American people? As I said before, federal workers, contractors, families can't proceed with their lives without being on edge about whether or not the government is going to shut back down at the end of December or at the end of January, after the president gives his first State of the Union address. And I mean, you can tell that that's not going to be truthful. He's going to say that it's in a great state right now. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Everything is peachy keen and everything is great. And it's not. And when I bring you this information, I'm not here to scare anyone. Like I said, I'm here to give you an insight to what to expect. We got caught up in the idea that the government was back open and everything is back to normal. And it's not by a long shot. Even if you consider the fact that while the government was shut down, how many paychecks went by, how many people went and got behind in their financial responsibilities, right? You dig what I'm saying? A shutdown or near misshapes trust in government's basic ability to function. So it has that causes people to wonder, is our government functioning as it should? Is it functioning properly? Can the politicians that we sent to Washington and to the state capitals and all of those different facets of government, can they be trusted to do what's best for the American people? Or is it them doing what's best for them? You know? I mean, it's just an amazing and it's an interesting thing, and the events that are happening around it definitely cause for concern. And I would like for the American people as a whole to kind of pay attention to what's going on in these things. You feel? Don't be naive and think that the government is back to don't bring us back down to don't disappoint us this time. United States. We while you sitting and getting ready to go back on another vacation for the holidays, Christmas coming up, let's try to get a solidified deal done with this with our government as far as funding the government. This shutdown, takes you into a major concern about people's bills, jobs, and money, as I said before. Because if you don't have the job, you can't get the money, you can't pay your bill. I noticed that I looked up and there's a lot of foreclosures and people selling their homes because our economy is in such shambles that we can't they can't keep up the mortgage payments, let alone the way that our the cost of living is going up, rent and everything is going up. If you can't keep up the payment on the house, then the apartment that you're getting ready to go rent because you can't keep the house is it's going to be hard for you to keep that up as well, because the government has not come to a solidified thing, solidified or direct or definite answer to how to fix our government, bring our national debt down, fund our government for longer periods of time than what it is. I mean, shit, some of the bills that they sign take you and make you concerned when they about the stuff they have included in those bills. Now we have already forgotten that $40 billion went out of this country. 40 billion. So
Sure. Can we get Liliana for dismissal, please, boss man?
when you do it like that, that's what happens. We are at a crossroads in our country, whether we want to admit it or not. We're at a crossroads in our country. You know, and this affects both Democrats and Republicans. So it's not a separatist thing that I'm doing right now. It's not partisan. You know, it's about the impact that it has on American people, and the call for the American people to begin to hold your government officials accountable. Right? That's where we at right now. Yeah. So I just wanted you guys to be up on that because we not out of the woods as far as the government shutdown is concerned. We can still be back into another government shutdown sooner than we think. It is. I mean, and then we go to a crisis at our border, at our border. You know, and the amount of encounters that we have had at our border have reached an extreme high in recent periods. You know, I mean, we know policies swing from administration to administration. We can do that, and we can go over the fact that maybe President Obama was a little bit lenient on immigration laws. We know what President Biden did as far as immigration. Whether we think that Donald Trump has been a little more harsh than necessary about immigration, the policy swing from administration to administration. Whether they're all right or whether they're wrong or not, that's not for us to debate. That's not for me to sit here and talk about whether it's right or wrong. But the policies do change from president to president. So in that particular case, we possibly do have a problem at our border. You know, I can't say that the problem is Mexico or if it's America, but there is a problem. I mean, is it a good thing or a bad thing that people are being deported that are not supposed to be deported? I would err on the side of it's a bad thing because you're taking and you forcing American citizens out of this country that are born here and have every right to be here because they're here illegally. We can't use and weaponize our United States government's militaries or law enforcement to enforce unfair justice upon the American people. Some of the states that we live in have deployed National Guards and filed lawsuits against the federal government because of the impact and the encounters that they've had at the border. You know, trying to ease the stress and the chaos that's happening on the borders. And the chaos that happens when, like I said, people are really being taken out of this country, kidnapped out of this country without just cause. You know, and it also puts a strain on local communities, you know, and the shelters that are in those communities, because you know that you're going to have people trying to hide from ICE, hide amongst the homeless, disguise themselves, and And those particular shelters and homeless shelters and all that were put in place to help people who really need it. And at this particular point, it looks like those are the housing stations for ICE when they catch these illegal immigrants. We know that the one here in Florida that was on the big talk of the town in Florida was Alligator Alcatraz, which was a staging area for illegal immigrants who were getting ready to be sent back to their home countries. And a lot of them ended up in other countries that were not their home countries. So, a lot of this stuff becomes political jargon when in the hands of the wrong people, as it could be considered to be political jargon in my hands. I don't get into political jargon. I'm just here to give you information. This also affects cities, schools, hospitals, budgets. It affects local governments, and it affects local governments and national governments as well when these type of things have not been addressed as they should be. Do I think that the way that it's being addressed now is right? I don't. But I mean, again, administration to administration, right? We're going to have someone that comes in and say, I can do it better. It causes, if you don't address it properly, it causes a split amongst all the facets of our what makes up America: security, compassion, laws, economics. It all begins to butt heads with each other. You get presidents that go, I don't want to, I'm not going to fund this state because it's a blue state and they are okay with illegal immigrants being here. I'm not going to fund this state because they didn't vote for me. They don't agree with my policies, which being one of the policies is illegal immigration and the effect it had on our country and local cities. Not to mention the other things that are going on in those particular cities. You got violence and all that going on along with this. It's a chaotic situation. And everybody's affected. I mean, the multiple angles of it is that how many facets of life it affects, from a federal level to a community level. You feel me? It affects the migrants that come here and work in agriculture in the fields, picking the produce and everything. It causes prices of food to go up. You know, you can always go and I tell you about the fact checking and everything. If you want to fact check these particular topics, this particular topic that I was just talking about was fact checked through CBP data, border coverage, and ABC News. So I'm tracking it down through valuable and reputable sources. The very first one that I tracked down was through ABC, YouTube, NBC. I just tracked down. I go and I look for those particular stations that are not considered to be fake news. And if all else fails, after you do those two, the government shut it down, and you go into immigration, what would you think would be the next thing we would talk about? Then you got it. Election interference threats increase. U.S. intelligence warns that foreign actors are ramping up digital influence campaigns again with fake videos, fake accounts, and targeted disinformation pushed towards people to anger them and cause confusion. And the battlefield isn't just ballots. It's minds, timelines, and feeds. And we can see that right now. We can see that right now. We can see that because the information that's being put out is used to cause fear. It's used to cause panic. It's used to cause a discourse and finger pointing and politicians playing the blame game, saying it's your fault. The Democrats are the reason for a shutdown. The Republicans are a reason for a shutdown. You know, I know it's a game being played, but you don't have to take my word for it. Go and check it out. People can't tell what's real and what's fake. What causes you to lose trust in elections? Because you have a lot of people that sit at home and don't go and vote because my vote is not going to count. Okay? You have a lot of people that don't believe that when those votes are tallied, that they're accurate. We know for a fact that Trump said an election was stolen, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of people feel like during this election, Kamala Harris might have won the election. That's not how we look at it now because we swore in Donald Trump, but some people believe that it was rigged, with Elon Musk being one of the perpetrators being pointed out. Okay? And if you can't believe in the democratic process, then democracy has a problem. Whether cheating happened or not, democracy has a problem. And out of all the things that we should be fixing, working hard to fix, democracy has to be paramount to fix it, because if you can't trust the electoral process, then that ushers in a new way of forming the government, which could be where we're being pushed to a one world government, some kind of different government to some kind of different form of government. And in order for you to rebuild, to usher in a new government, you have to tear down the one that exists right now. So in that particular case, you would have a situation where you would cause chaos in every section of government. You would shut down the branches of government that you deem unnecessary because they're not going to go along with your policies. They're going to go along with the letter of the law, which is what it should be. But it's not what it is from what we're seeing on TV and what we're seeing in the local news and the public. It's not what we're seeing on television. We're seeing a totally different thing. We're seeing we're seeing the government and the country that looks to be in disarray. From my point of view, but I mean, what am I? Who am I? I'm just giving you an idea from my point of view. So, they're trying to steal an election is basically what I'm trying to do. And then and midterms coming up. So this is the perfect scare tactic to put out now, because midterms are coming up. And with midterms coming up, you have our political figures knowing that midterms could cost, because of the way that the government shutdown was handled and the way that the government has been run previously. Midterm says that the congressmen and senators that you have right now, if you know that they were involved in that government shutdown and didn't do everything they had to do to make sure that it didn't shut down, they know that this is the perfect time to say that foreign countries are going to interfere in the election so that we can tie up the elections and tie up a transition from people who don't care about this country to people who do care about this country. You get what I'm saying? That's what you're looking at. It's going to be rigged. It's going to be interfered with. And then if the right person doesn't get elected, then you tie up the elections because all of the elections are rigged. And it causes a tear in the fabric of democracy. It causes distrust in the fabric of democracy. And then you have people that don't want to go out and vote. Not to mention the fact that there's a push to kind of alter the voting process altogether. I would err on the side of saying that all of it turns technical at some point. You don't even have to leave your home to vote. You just wake up and do just like you be doing on TikTok or anything else. Pick up the phone on election day and elect right from your phone. And with that being said, we know how that gets handled. We know that those particular situations can be hacked. Those particular avenues of voting or tech can be hacked. Those particular methods can be affected from some private location by the push of a button. That was brought to you by Omni Reports and public statements on foreign interference. And that's the fact checks that we have on it. This one here is good to me because I don't really believe, but I'll give it to you anyway. Saying before we talk about inflation being down and the cost of living still being high, which I alluded to earlier on when I said that people can't put food on the table. Foreclosure rates and selling houses and right now is what's happening. If you ride around some of these communities, you can see a lot of for sale signs in the yards from new home buyers because of inflation and because of the cost of living being high. And that's not even, like I said, that's not even with just the housing market. You also have apartments that the rent is the cost of a mortgage. And you're being affected everywhere. You're being affected food, utilities, car insurance, medical bills. All of those things are still being affected because the way that you get paid does not equal out to what it costs for you to live. And I know some people say you got to live within your means, but there are people in this country trying to live within their means and still can't make ends meet. And that's not because of that's because of the economy the way it is right now and the way that things are being done. I think that they had a problem. They said something about, and I did some research and I wouldn't wait on it, but they had, you have a lot of people waiting on these Doge checks to come out. Like Donald Trump is going to send $2,000 to each family. It doesn't put a dent in anything. You have two different things. I'm big on statistics. By the way, I'm not plugging anything, but my nonprofit is Beyond Statistics. So we typically look at statistics and the way that what the charts are saying about how inflation looks and the cost of living is not what you get when you go to the grocery store and things like that. That grocery cart does not represent where the United States government is saying the economy is right now and where inflation is right now. It does. It just doesn't. And if you've ever been in that grocery store and you bought something out of that grocery store, I can promise you that it doesn't add up or equal up. You know, and again, everybody's feeling. You know, everybody's feeling. And we talking about people who don't invest in the stock market, who don't have a whole lot of the money to invest in Bitcoin or all of these digital currencies and things like that. We talking about people who literally work 9 to 5, shop at Publix, shop at Walmart, go to the gas station to get gas that could sometimes be up around the end about $3.99. I wouldn't want to tell you my age or anything like that, but let's just say I can remember when gas was under $1. It's the gradual growth. I can tell you this. The last time I can remember an economy being somewhat decent was Bill Clinton balancing a leveling off. And then after that, it kind of went downhill. I will not take away from the fact that our president, Barack Obama, had one of the highest job growth rates. But I mean, give credit where credit due. I think Bill had the country cranking that, running on all cylinders. That's not what we're looking at right now. People feel like they're working more and getting less. And that particular, that's political fuel. Because I can continue to feed you and bait you. Tell you, hey, listen, everything's going to get better. It takes time to fix. Everything's going to get better. No, just string you along. While I'm sending $40 billion to Argentina. That's it. While I'm doing airstrikes in the middle of the ocean, killing drug traffickers. Right? While I'm creating monsters in our economy to distract you. While I'm creating monsters in our country to distract you. While I maneuver around you and give better help to people from other countries than I do for my own country. Right? And everybody knows that. I don't think there's a person in this country that's not feeling the stretch or that's not feeling like their money is not going as far as it's supposed to go. I don't think so. I don't believe there's nobody on this planet that feels like I make enough money to cover everything I need and still be comfortable, right? Some people are dipping into their savings, man. Trying to make things work. And if you decide that you got kids, if you decide that you got kids in college or whatever, you're trying to support while they go to college. Then it's even harder, right? But hey, and then comes the loans behind it. But yeah, enough about that. We covered that on CPL. And we got the facts from inflation trends and charts. But again, like I told you, those particular charts could be accurate or could not be. But I mean, we fact check it anyway here, so that's not a problem. And then we had a story that talked about an attack on free speech. And right now in the government, the Supreme Court is hearing the case about whether the government can pressure social media platforms to limit or remove certain content. This could change how social media handles political speech, misinformation, and harmful posts. And both said and claim that the First Amendment is on their side. I'm under the impression that that First Amendment gave you the right to voice your opinion on it. Right? Or was that the Second Amendment? I believe it was the First Amendment. Don't go and check it out. I'm sure it's the First Amendment. Go check for yourself. Just like anything I say, go back and check this stuff out for yourself. I know you show up here to hear my melodious voice, but geez, I fact check it, but I tell you, do your own homework, right? But both sides say that both sides. So that means that the government says that the First Amendment is on their side, and we the people say the First Amendment is on our side. And I would go and say, I'm going to post and talk about what you put in front of me, whether it's the Facebook, any of that. And if you don't like it, you have to remember that the information that's being put up on social media is the same information that these news networks are putting up. And if you're going to censor anything, you have to censor everything. Why censor anything? Why censor anybody? Because it's not conducive, but it doesn't fit into what you believe. We don't all have the same social security number, so we're not the same. You may not agree or believe with what I say, but I've said it before concerning Charlie Kirk. I don't agree with what happened to Charlie Kirk. It's not my fight, but I just want to reiterate and say again, he had a right to say and express how he felt. Whether you agree with it or not, you have a right to say whether you agree with it or not. But we can talk about that all day. You have every right in the world to voice your opinion about what you agree with and what you don't agree with. It's when things become physical and violence where the problem happens. But when you get threatened, but I mean, these social media sites cannot be a buffer between the United States government and what they deem to be suitable, and the American people and what they deem to be suitable. You're not dealing with a bunch of kids. You're dealing with able-bodied Americans who get up and work and pay taxes and all of that. They have a right to say whether they agree with you or not. It's just that simple. Look at the things that they came. Roe versus Wade. You took away the right for women to be able to decide when and where. It causes a problem because it even eliminates when a woman is being raped and chooses not to have a baby from the person who assaulted them. You can't get an abortion after about 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. It ain't even that much time. And the secret behind it is the concern that the population is fluctuating. Yeah. It is going to affect what shows up and what doesn't show up in your feed and what people believe is true. Right. And the ruling on this particular situation for the government is going to outline your speech on social media for the next 10 years, 20 years. You can literally be censored for going on social media and saying something that you believe to be honest and true. And then your post disappears like they do on TikTok, a community violation. You know, kind of like the attack on woke ideology. You know, that's what we're looking at right now. We're in the place where if the Supreme Court deems that if the Supreme Court deems that you have what you say is not right, it could be legal ramifications behind it. If it's deemed to be too much, and you have a real message that they deem to wake people up, they could just delete that image, delete that message. You feel me? But quick question that you can always message in the chat. Who do you think? Who would you trust to hold the mic? I can do this all day because I have the privilege of being on BFAM 109.6 every Thursday at 5 o'clock, uncensored, and I can say whatever I want to say. You hear what I said? So I really don't worry about those type of things because whether here or on the street corner, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. You know, I'm gonna say whatever I got to say. But this is where we at in this country right now. When you take the Supreme Court and tell them you wrote the Constitution that said freedom of speech, and then now we need you to go back and look at it and deem or compartmentalize where freedom of speech is allowed. You get what I'm saying? We gotta be more diligent about holding our government accountable. It begins to feel like we kids and we can't think for ourselves, so somebody else has got to think for us. You know, and just because they say it's a law doesn't necessarily mean that it's a law. It still has to be voted on. I mean, you have to agree to it. And I'm not telling you to rise or nothing like that. What I'm saying is, let's not get so caught up in tomfoolery to not be able to look at these things. And if I spoke a big word, and it's shenanigans, bro. Let's not get caught up in the shenanigans and having a great time all the time without being adults about this thing and coming to the front and looking at it like it really is and the seriousness of it. Because if it's allowed for them to take away free speech or freedom of speech, then imagine the other stuff that they're going to be able to take away and strip your freedom from. You get what I'm saying? In other news, Trump signed a new executive order, or signed a lot of executive orders. Let me make that correction. On things like immigrations, federal workers, law enforcement, you know. The one I want to talk about to all my marijuana smokers. Did you hear this dude outlaw THC? And I know that's not a hot button for everybody because a lot of people don't smoke marijuana. But wasn't there a push prior to Trump coming in office where the Justice Department was looking over declassifying marijuana and making it legal, or making it a lesser charge, or making it a less of a criminal offense, almost to the point, if I'm not mistaken, that it wouldn't be a criminal offense at all. Criminal offense at all. Because we've heard the federal workers and the law enforcement and immigration executive orders. But this one here turned me a little bit because I was like, this is the attack that we gonna have. This is the hill we finna climb to the top of. TEC. TEC. That's the one. But I can give you this: the states of this country that don't agree with those particular executive orders got right to action and started filing lawsuits and challenging those particular executive orders. I personally didn't know that you could do that, but I mean, now that I know you can challenge the executive order, a lot of our politicians don't have the backbone to. But and shout out to the states that challenged it. Finally, somebody's using their political power to push back against the madness that we call the American government right now. Some of these executive orders are overreach, right? Like I'm just trying some shit right now, doing whatever I want to do. You get it? I'm just trying to see what's going to be allowed. You know, it also will point out to you how much power one man, the president in the Oval Office, really has. And it also shapes real policies on the ground before Congress even votes on anything. Like, you know how many executive orders were signed in this particular government that kind of null and voided what the Congress and the Senate or even voting on. They didn't even have to vote. I would think that this year they were on vacation this year. They were on vacation this year. Our president, man, is literally using this thing as his personal playground to fashion our government to be what he wants it to be. Now, mind you, 4 years, and then these things begin to get repealed by the incoming president if he so chooses to do so. But I mean, just think whether it would be too late or not. You know. And all day long, I've been waiting to get to this one right. Epstein files and new Epstein-related documents are unsealed. Emails, logs, connections to powerful figures, raising questions about who knew what, who looked the other way, and why this went on so long. Because it went on for a long time. Somebody lost their life behind. I was surprised that at first Trump didn't want it to come out, and then after that, he was like, release him. And I can tell you, I saw the tape, y'all. I saw the tape. Those who know. I have an uncanny ability to get my hands on certain things. I saw the tape. I saw the emails, man. I saw the conversation. I saw them. And let me just tell you, when this hit the fan, it's going to break the fan. Right? Causes a problem because it cuts into public trust. Like, these type of things are happening. These are the politicians and things that are fighting against human trafficking and all of that. And I'm like, these are the same people that are involved in human trafficking and all of those things. It starts to point out who's above the law and who's not. rich and powerful people could never face justice. And if that's the case, then what does law and order really mean? When they say no one's above the law, and then they show you that there are people above the law. Because with the right amount of money, you can buy yourself out of anything. Right? So at that particular point, you begin to think, and I'm going to tell you that America is at a crossroads between transparency and corruption. Right? Because you would think that, like I said before, we vote for these people, and we hope that the people that we elect will be upstanding people, and abide by the law, law-abiding citizens. And then when you get in the office, something changes, and now you're not. And some of those politicians began to be corrupt totally, and some of those politicians began to bend at the will and began to compromise their beliefs and the drive they had when they went to and took those positions. And then and then it's not transparency. Everything becomes secret. And last but not least, and I'm sure everybody heard about this, but let me just tell you, nurses, doctors, nurses, therapists, nurses and therapists, and I think paralegals might have been on that list and things like that. Trump's administration under his Department of Education has reclassified degrees, and some degrees are now not counted as professional for certain federal categories. Home care, healthcare programs. I had such a wonderful list. As I was saying, most of those particular professionals on that list, you can look up online. It's a way to take and downgrade your pay grade, discredit your degree, even after you paid so much money to get a degree. And that list has some stuff on it that should be considered professional. But definitely go and make sure that your degree that you paid thousands and thousands of dollars for is still considered to be professional. Okay? And for those that are trying to go to school, this is going to affect your loans and how certain financial supports are calculated for those programs. So the funding is going to change for those particular programs. It's going to cause you, if you want to go to be a nurse or one of those careers, have to face higher debt. This speaks directly to students, parents, educators, and healthcare workers. Because some of the educators that you have now, and you went and got a nursing degree under that educator, they're not classified as professional. So then, therefore, if they're not classified as professional, then your degree is null and void. Just nullified your degree. And that's a concern because if you nullify nursing degrees, then shit, it's almost like trade school in there. You affecting a nurse that's been a nurse for 30, 40 years. Now she's not professional. A man who's been a nurse, he's not considered professional. Right? And now these are, and I just want to specify, declassify is not the same as declassifying government documents. Like, you know, the ones that are classified and sealed, the ones that Donald Trump declassified when he was in his, when they found him in his home in Mar-a-Lago, or the other presidents who they stated did not declassify those top secret files and everything. That's not the declassify I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking your degree and saying that you are an RN, and the RN pay scale should start here because she's considered a professional. Once they declassify that, then your pay scale is different. It's almost like driving a wedge between the elite and the rich and the poor. And I remember I told you, it comes down to how much money you have in the bank. So you make people not want to go into these professions. Because, I mean, why would you be in it if it's not for the money? Right? That's why you picked the career that you want, because you saw how much it pays. Some people do it for what they love, for the love of it, but I mean, it still comes with compensation. So, that's where we at. So tonight we ran over shutdowns, border elections, money, the courts, executive orders, and Epstein file. Also, the declassification of professional careers that are not professional anymore. America is at a crossroads, but awareness is power. So stay awake, stay informed, and remember, I'm Mr. I See What You're Doing, and I see what you're doing. And until next Thursday, man, purpose is power. And your ability to change the world lies within you and not with the outside source. Y'all be easy, man, and I'm going to holler at you next week. You feel me? See y'all then.
www.enter-effect.com for more info, beats, and designs. Beats available for $30 and exclusive beats starting at $150.
Make your